Yeah, finally made it home.
Okay. I saw your tweet about your flight situation you been having. What's
Been a
going
rough,
on all year, brother, with these flights, man?
yeah, been one of them years, man. But it's all right, man. I think traveling so much gives me a lot more patience.
Really?
When I'm in airports, like things don't really bother me too much anymore. Delays, cancellations, and stuff. At the end of the day, you know, I can't drive. It's gonna be way. It's like, and I want to be safe when I'm in the sky. So, you just
Mhm.
kind of put up with it. So.
Right. Listen, brother, fresh off your battle against Coffee Brown. Listen, brother, it was you my guy. To wait till my brother to battle 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock at midnight East Coast time was rough. It was hard, Ward. But I stood up a little bit though. But it was talking about the battle you and Coffee. How you feel?
Yeah, man, I felt like I did exactly what I thought I was gonna do.
Right.
I went in there and just um, got a clear win against a formidable opponent, somebody who's mentioned every year in the top, three of female battle rap,
Absolutely.
and somebody that's mentioned, in that regard, probably in the top 25 to 30 of battle rap. Period.
Wow.
So
Wow.
quality win. Was able to have the conversations, touch on things that that address some of the storylines and stuff like that from being no showed. Um, and once again go out into enemy territory. Like that's where she's
I
from.
can't let you say that enemy territory, love. You get love in the West Coast, brother. Really?
That's the thing, though. Is like that's my thing, though. Is like I earned that. You know what I mean? And
Facts.
so that's just like, I'm not saying it was like a situation where it was a hostile environment,
Right.
for me. But I'm
Right.
just saying, like I've earned that right, being what I've done on a riot and what I've done in California. And then, but that's where she's from, and she had brought like 7, 8 people in with her, standing
Yeah.
behind her, stone face, not gonna react to what I'm saying, and so like, even though it wasn't like a home game for me, she got her crew. You got the hosts. You got Geechi not gonna go crazy for my stuff, or her stuff. Jazz the same way,
Yeah.
I'm in there dolo. I got a couple of homies, that I know behind me or whatever.
Mhm.
And Saint,
Mhm.
shout out to Saint, my guy
Shout out
Saint.
Saint. Shout out my guy
But he's
Saint.
also from Cali. You know what I mean? So like, I didn't have no. I feel like every bar that hit, I had to earn it.
Okay. All right. Now you did say during the battle that the riot is your home league and King of the Dot is your fling though. Is that really real though? Like, do you feel like the riot is your home though?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like, I said that in the battle. You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
I do a good job of building relationships with leagues to
Yes, you
where
do.
it's like, like that's like when you see a riot card pop up, a big riot event, the expectation is more than likely that A Ward is going to be on that card. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And I think that I've built that with them. I had built that with King of the Dot at one time. I had built that with RBE at one time. I
You have
didn't
to.
get too far in building that with Chrome. I did 2 in a row for them, but I didn't get too far in building that with them. You know, so I think with those 3 particular leagues, I built a rapport with them to where it's like, yo, if we go to war, you know what I mean? Like at this particular time, like A Ward is one of our guys.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned something in the third round. I did not know Coffee was part of a group. The
Yeah.
Visionaries. I knew nothing about that. That's it. Are you surprised no one's tapped into that before?
Yes and no. I assumed that she was gonna go in, talk about my mama, say, government
Yeah,
names and different things
yeah,
like that.
right.
I assumed that was gonna happen. Um, and Coffee had told me when I battled J2, and she was being half serious and half joking. When I battled J2, she had
Mm,
told me, she was like, I was mad at you for saying my government name
yes,
whenever you did your little when I released the round in the hotel room,
right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And I'm like, why you mad? I'm saying your government name. Like at some point, like 95% of battle rappers that are the top in the world, everybody knows our government names. Like there's very few out there that nobody, like, you're highly regarded. If you make music, like your government name is on your Spotify, your Apple Music. Like that's how you get paid. You know what I mean?
Facts,
Like it's
facts.
not, um. So with that being said, I I had watched the Twerk battle when she battled Twerk,
Mm.
and Twerk mentioned her being a like a freedom rider, like
Yes,
poet.
I know. He did
Like
say
in the
that.
third round, he mentioned her like freedom rider, poet. And I'm like, oh, okay, So I did my research a little bit, and like I said, I actually didn't mention her government name in this battle. I didn't say it, for the fact that I wanted to keep that. If she did feel a certain way about me mentioning her government name, I want to keep that, so that people don't just go to YouTube and start searching it and posting crazy, click whatever.
Right.
But what I did want to use was I wanted to use a very real and true angle. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
because I also watched who she battled. She battled maybe Bonnie or something like that. And a lot of times when somebody says something to Coffee in a battle, if it's not true, she'll let you know. Like there, she was like, "You lying." She was like, "You lying on my," like that ain't true. I ain't letting that one slide.
She will get
Somebody will
at you.
say
She will get
something,
at
she's like,
you.
"Nah, we're not letting that one slide. I did not
Right.
do that." Or whatever. So with the angle, the young visionary angle, everything was correct. And then I have a bar in there where I said, you remember this poem you wrote, you know? And the punchline of that bar was not for the crowd. The punchline of the bar was that's the kind of switch that'll make a light bulb jealous. But
Mm.
that is her punchline from the poem.
Mm.
So
I
that's
know.
what that's the switch to make a light bulb jealous is what she wrote in that poem, and it was like a nice like the poem's nice, and she would get reaction. So that wasn't meant for the crowd, That was me
Right,
just
right,
saying like me like kind of like remixing her poem and kind of letting her know like I did my research. You know what I mean?
So
So
let me ask you as well. When you battle someone like Coffee, how many battles are you watching prior to you start to write your material and stuff like that? Are you watching a handful of battles or?
it's different. When you're preparing for some people, right?
Mhm.
In the first time I prepared for Coffee, I watched a lot of her rounds, right?
Okay, okay, okay.
And I had some stuff in that round about dissecting some of the stuff she had said, right?
Mhm.
You said this to such and such. Now I'm gonna talk about it. You said this to such and such. In this time, I watched a lot of her opponent's rounds to
Right.
just make sure because she's a lot more active now to make sure
Yes.
I wasn't using the same type of punchlines, the same whatever, and I was approaching it a certain way.
Mhm.
But yeah, I probably watched like 6 of her battles,
Okay.
probably maybe about 6, something like that. I try to watch the high profile ones because the last thing you want to do is say something that like a million people have seen.
Right. Right.
And then I try to watch the recent ones, the ones that are, they're fresh, that are, if it is any kind of um angles or any kind of things that you've done recently that have not really been touched on. So
Mm. Only you could do a Flintstone bar, Dino bar, and make that shit hit. I didn't think I would like a Flintstone bar in 2025, but it makes so much sense the way you put it together, though. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, man, you just gotta like you gotta attack from all different angles, use all different things. I didn't know. I really thought the Sonic Knuckles and Tails line out the gate would garner a crazy reaction. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
Um, I didn't get it, and that's when I was like, "Oh, this crowd's gonna be kind of tough." Everybody I
Mhm.
spar with on the phone right out the gate, Sonic Knuckles, give him the tail. Oh my goodness.
Crazy. That's
So,
crazy.
um, I wasn't sure throughout the rest of the battle, like if another cartoon, video game, whatever, would hit in the building or what would it be. Um, some of the shock value lines are gonna hit no matter what.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that just and this was also one of those events where around the camera is like 20 people, then 20 feet behind the camera is a stage with people sitting on it that you can't hear, like
Okay.
it's far back.
Right.
They're reacting on this stage. Back here is another room. There's so like the energy wasn't all in the pit.
Mhm.
So as a battler, that's tough. I'm looking over and seeing the people on stage reacting, but you can't hear it or feel it,
Wow.
on camera there. Um, so you just got to keep rapping. You got to keep rapping, and you got to lock in, stay poised or whatever. Um, but yeah, I had a full extra bar that I was gonna rap, but earlier in the night it got mentioned twice already. You know, um,
Okay. Okay.
so NXT and next and Muwap both kind of did it. So I was like, ah. I'm gonna tuck it now, you know.
Wow. Okay.
But in hindsight, I probably should have done it because my battle dropped first, so I could have easily just clipped it down and been the first one, you know. Um,
Yeah.
because I had like I was gonna wait till I hit a haymaker, and then when the crowd's settling down, just be like, you know, you should have known better. I got explosive in the palm of my hand, you know, like I was gonna just do like a quick two like that, you know. So, but yeah, ultimately, man, like first round, I thought was my best round. It comes out, it's a good solid round.
Right.
Couple of the rebuttals with the second round, it becomes my best round. And then the third is a fresh angle,
Yes.
executed really, really well. The only
Mm.
thing I would change is sometimes when I'm writing, I ask myself, should I angle the whole round or should I just give it about 50 to 60% and then go back to punching?
Right.
Sometimes that works, like when you get back to punching, because if people were not really glued to the angle, you
Mm.
have another, okay, let me get back.
Okay.
I actually wish I would have just angled that whole Young Visionary the entire round instead of going back to the bars that I had were nice. The Mike Vick Price, night shift.
Those
Those are
sports bars are like,
yeah, those were
oh,
all nice, but I wish that I would have just went ahead and just went full in on that angle and had a few more angle punches and brought it full circle with the track and the poetry.
now we're both sports guys here, right? How many people? I watch baseball too, but how many people you feel got that Kurt Schilling line?
Nobody. People didn't even get on the phone.
Listen, Kurt Schilling back for the Red Sox against my Yankees had the blood of the Sox and everything like
Yep.
that in 2003. So
Yep.
I was just like, how many motherfuckers they really know about that Kurt Schilling ball like that?
Yep.
Though? You know
And that's why, like, I throw it in the second. I throw it in the second line. It's not the punchline. But I slide it in there. I don't know how many people know Marcus Vick. You know what I mean?
His brother, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just like, oh, that's a super dope line for me to be like, Riot's my main league, King of the Dot, my side chick, Marcus, my brother, like Mike, like I'm like, that's so fire to me,
That's
and
hard.
it's just, yeah. And like, but at the same time, I know that they're a little bit vague for the crowd, so they can't be the 4 or the 8. They got to be the 2 or the 3, the lead ups.
Is it dicey with you because you're one of the illest guys that do sports bars, right? But you talk about guys that I don't know if a lot of people know. You got to be a real sports fanatic.
Yeah.
You know about some of the cats you talk about, though.
Yeah, and that's what I like. That's why I call myself the sports bar king, because I'm like, yo, I could take something that is like not just your surface level King KD to the Rockets bar. I could take something and put it together, and you'll be like, oh dang! Like when you see that documentary in like in 2 years, you'd be like, oh, Kurt Schilling, oh, he's got mouth cancer. Oh, he used to have chew in his lip all the time. War was wild with that one. You know what I mean?
Would you ever do a battle a whole round with sports?
Yeah, I did. So I've done 2. I did me versus Phonetic in Alaska is all sports bars, all 3 rounds.
I gotta watch that.
Actually, I've done 3 now. So and me versus Josh Carroll this year, the first round was all sports bars, and then me versus O-Red, the second round was all sports bars.
And listen, O-Red was one of the guys back in the day who they deemed as one of the illest sports bar guys back in the day and everything like that.
And he's the first person that ever hit me with the Wardell flip, the Steph Curry Wardell, which was like, it's been used probably like 3 or 4 times on me since O-Red, but he was the first one, And so I always remember that, like, yo, that was a good one. That was a really, really fire, But yeah, man, like I pride myself. Like I remember when I was battling Big K and he had just battled Reed Dollars, and I had wrote that y'all brought Kenneth for Reed, and like I was like, bro, this. I'm like, yo, this writes itself. I know people are not rocking with Kenneth Fareed right now, but come on, what? Like, it's a double name flip and a perfect name. I'm like, it has to be said.
Right. Let me ask you about the battle and stuff like this, because I see some people, they got you clearly winning the battle, right? Well, I see if some people, if they're going to give Coffee a round, because it's debatable round, is a third round. I still feel you win the third round, regardless of if I thought her best round was a third.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that in a battle when somebody's up 2-0, and let's say you won the battle already, right? Basically, but they're nitpicking now and trying to, let's say, I'm not putting Coffee out, but if they are giving us the third round, right? How do you feel about that?
I mean, basically what it comes to is like those, like some battlers have been put in so much work and are highly regarded that to the point to where people don't want them to be 30. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, yo, I don't want to. Well, first off, I don't want to go on here and say Coffee got 30 because I don't want her to come at me and hate
Right,
me. And there's a
right.
lot of that, right? So
Absolutely.
so how about I please everybody, give A Ward the win, and then just go ahead and pretend like the third she got, right?
Right, right,
So
right, right.
so it's just easier, you know.
Is
So
that
there's
weak? Is
that.
that weak? Is that weak in your opinion when people do that? Not pertaining to coffee, but battle rap. Period. Is that weak?
Yeah, battle rap's also very difficult to judge. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like,
Mhm.
I think the first two rounds are very clear. I think the
Right, right,
third
right.
is clear, but not as
Mhm.
clear as the first two rounds. So it's like
Right.
when you're watching them from some certain things or whatever. Um, but I think it's just it's not only that, man. It's also we say we don't, but we judge on a female level and a male level too.
Okay.
I just think that there are things that, like, you take those same words in the
Mm-hmm.
same delivery in the
Mm-hmm.
same rhyming, and a male is saying them to me, like, it's not it's looked at a little bit different.
Okay.
I really feel like that. I thought Coffee had some great ideas. And she First off, let's get this out of the way. I'm talking about her being a poet at 16 years old. She was an incredible poet.
Fire.
She's an
That's
incredible poet, right? Writing at the stuff that she was putting out at 16 years old, like, is very, very good for what she was doing. She's a good writer. You know what I mean?
mm,
You have to execute those ideas. One, in taking the idea of the punchline and saying it the best way possible, right?
mm,
And then
mm.
two, you have to rhyme it the best way possible, and then you have to act it out fluidly and deliver it the
Execute it
best
out.
way possible.
Right.
Coffee has some really good ideas. I'm sitting here
Mm,
listening to her. I'm like, yo, she called me a racist alcoholic. She said there's a slur in my speech. That's a
mm.
double entendre. That's kind of fire, actually.
That's hard. I like that's
You
hard.
know,
That's hard. That's
like,
hard.
she said it though, just said it, and, like, she didn't execute it the way she could have. She
Mm.
could have been like, that's why I'm hurting this geek. Son with a he be drinking. He be from Sun with this white crack with a it makes sense. You're a racist and alcoholic. You keep a slur in your speech. Like, you deliver it like that with, like, a multi-syllabic rhyming, bring it full circle or whatever. Now the double entendre pops. The idea is executed correctly, and
Okay.
the punchline, it hits harder rather than just saying you a racist alcoholic. You be having slurs. And so that's why I say, is like, I know everybody doesn't have to do your 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, but there are a lot of different ways to execute those ideas. And for me, when I'm listening to Coffee, um, she's the rhyming is a little off. The cadence and delivery is a little off, but the ideas and the writing are there.
Okay.
And that's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
And that's why in the first round you get, you know, um, do rounds, rodeo clown, OVO sound, Antonio Brown. You
Now.
get me showing off the
Mm.
pockets and the rhyming that I feel she's not able to do.
Wow, Ward. Wow. If Coffee hears that, how does he take that?
That's just my constructive criticism. I'm not the end all be all. I
Right,
mean,
right,
she
right,
she
right,
won a belt. I don't got a belt. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the end all be all, but that's for me, in how, like, I've always said, like, when I'm gauging somebody who's battling, I'm asking myself, do they write well?
right. Okay.
Do they perform well? Do they rhyme well? Do they rap well? Are they versatile?
Wow, that's interesting, man. So to go back to when you battle, how do you stay focused in a time discrepancy like West Coast time and all these battles going down, doors open
Yeah,
at 7 o'clock in the evening West Coast time?
yeah.
You focus and fresh, bro.
That's tough, man. Especially, like, being hours behind and, like, getting there the night before, having to do face offs, trying to just get your sleep schedule back together on one day. It's tough. It really wasn't as tough at the battle, but it
Mm-hmm.
becomes tough today. It becomes,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm flying home yesterday and today, now I'm struggling a little bit. Um, I'll say this much, like, the day of the battle, like, I was able to get like a 2 hour nap in because I knew, like, hey, the battle's not starting until what I thought was going to be 5. I don't think they started till, which Pacific time. I don't think they started till closer to 7. you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I'm not getting there till 6:30, you know. So I got my nap in and everything. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's tough. It's tough, and I was drinking Red Bull because they ran out of water. That's tough, you know. Like you saw me, I didn't have a water. Like they ran out
Yeah.
completely in the whole venue to have any bottle of water, and that's you know like, and that's just because you know like the night's going, people grabbing water, people see, you know, they're not thinking, oh, the battlers, save some for the battlers. So yeah, there's a lot of just different things that are tough, but regardless, to be a professional, you got to bring it home. You know it's the last battle of the night. You know the people in the venue are tired. They've been there for almost 5 hours. You definitely know the people at home are tired because a lot of them is midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and like a professional can still entertain, bring it home, and say, "Yo, that was worth staying up for."
Mm. I saw you on Twitter comment about, I guess somebody in the comment section made a comment about one of your balls. What was your take when you saw that, when you read that though? What was your take on that?
Yeah, man, it's so funny. It happens often. Like I'll go to like the comment section of a battle or whatever, start reading, and then there's like, "Yo, what y'all didn't realize is war meant da da da," and they'll go through and like think that there's like 6, 7, 8, 9 more layers, and it's just like, look,
It's not that
guys,
deep, my guy. It's not that
nope, nope, it ain't all that, my guy. It is not all that, you
deep.
know. Um, but it's always funny to see. It's always funny to see kind of how people operate. You know, I really liked a few of the rebuttals I had. Some of them weren't rhymed as well as I needed them to be. Like I got some stuff. I got some polishing up to do when it comes to like some of the rebuttals. Should have had some better setups. But you know, I did what I planned on doing, and that was hold on 1 second. And then uh, I I felt like I shook her a little bit in that second round with the second round rebuttals, and she kind of But ultimately, like I think it was a good battle. I think she's proud of the battle. Like that's what I said. Like you know, I feel like I won 3-0, but I don't want her to feel like I'm dragging her like she was anything bad or anything. You know, like
Right.
I've always felt like I was going to clearly beat Coffee, and that's just the confidence that I operate with and what I think. You know, she said
Mm.
something. I don't know if you saw like the face off, but she said something the night before, and she said that last year or this year was the first time she watched my round in the hotel room. She said, and she's like, I thought to myself, people thought he was going to beat me with that. And when she said that at the face off, I thought, oh, she hasn't learned. You know, like I mean, that's just how I thought in my head. I'm like, I don't want to be disrespectful right now,
God.
but absolutely I was going to smoke you with that. And if you don't think that that is like high end angling, punching, rapping, everything, then
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That John ball was kind of hard too. The back end, the John
I didn't
back
know Danny was gonna be standing there. I didn't know Danny was gonna be standing there. So
end. Then he's sitting like, well, damn, well, damn, what? Talking about me, shit like that. You know what I'm
I did
saying?
not know Danny
Oh
was gonna be
man,
standing there.
how much was Jazz the rapper scouting you? Because when you go back and watch the battle, she was really tuned into you, and I think that's the next female. If you ever battle another female, I think
That's
we
who it
try.
was supposed to be. I was supposed to have her next, man, but that fell through. I'm
Mm,
very. We both have talked. We both want the battle to happen. You know, obviously, we want it to happen on a very, I think that matchup sells itself. That's a main event type matchup. You know, um, but yeah, she's been there. She's been there. She stood right there and watched me and Vixen.
yeah.
She stood right there and watched me and Coffee.
Uh-huh.
And so I need to lock in with Miss Hustle and Jazz because I've battled all the Codys except Chilla, who is my one of my best friends.
Right, right,
And
right,
now
right,
I need to
right.
get all of the Wodies out of here.
So listen, are you in Jazz? Is that like, man? I think that's gonna be explosive, bro. You in Jazz? You know what I mean? How you feel about you
Maybe it'll
hustle?
be explosive too.
Who?
I said maybe it could be explosive too. Shout out to the Riot, man. Holla at me, man. When y'all
Right, right,
ready?
right. Hustle though, is that something you entertain also?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think
You
she's.
hustle. I
I
wonder
think
what that
she's.
sound like.
Yeah, I think she's dope. I would also battle E Heart. I would also battle First Lady Flames. I would battle yeah, there's a few ladies out there that I'm like, yo, they have a really a dope style, pen rap ability, that I'm like, yo, that's a dope matchup.
Mm. You and Geechi part 3, bro?
Yeah, so yeah, next now
Trilogy?
it's
That's what
good.
we doing?
Yeah, man. Me and Geechi part 3, Barstool's the nicest. It's gonna be interesting, man. See who can compliment each other better. I'll probably spend my rounds telling him he beat me. Because that's probably the most most I can is telling telling him that he's up 2-0. No, but yeah, I'm excited for that, man. Every time the first time I went out there, they treated us very, very well. My battle did very good numbers. There's a lot of good material out of that Ward and Chef Trez battle. It was a fun experience, and so yeah, I'm excited for it again.
Are you surprised? Listen, you and JC about to happen, right? It was in
August 9th, yeah.
Are you surprised you guys have the cross? It took so long for you guys to cross paths now.
Yes, definitely took way too long. It should have been booked by somebody. I mean, there's no reason why it shouldn't have been booked on RBE, Riot, King of the Dot, anything. Like, it just doesn't mean, it doesn't make sense. I have a business relationship with the league that's putting it on, in that, they paid me for a battle that they're not doing anymore with Bad News. And Jay Moore didn't show up, to battle JC that same day. So they have a vested interest in both of us, which is frustrating a lot of times for, a league, because for me, it's like, I don't necessarily just want to take your money and you not get a battle.
Right.
That's not, but also, like, I have to write 3 brand new rounds. Like, nothing I was going to say to Bad News works for JC, But we came to an agreement. Financially, it made it make sense or whatever. And like I said, I want to be able to touch their platform just because they treated me well, they've compensated me well, and so that's where it's happening. I was big on the fact that this event is on pay-per-view.
Okay.
Because I'm just like, like, the world needs to be able to see the A-Ward JC battle,
I agree.
because this is a virtual reality league, so their battles get posted on the MetaQuest, like, they don't go straight to YouTube. They get posted on the app for people that have VR headsets. And this is a big battle. A-Ward and JC is a big battle, so I don't want to only have it be seen for a specific group of people who have the virtual reality thing. So, with that being pay-per-view, you got Quest versus Tay-Rock on there. You got Av versus Chilla Jones. The card is actually really crazy. It'll be on pay-per-view. I'm excited for it.
What are you expecting from you and JC? Are you expecting a C word?
I don't know. He's got 2 or maybe 3 battles before then. Yeah, he's battling. He's battling on Gates of the Garden. Then he's battling on the Shoddy Horror and K-Shine card.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it's so. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've watched him be pretty active and still be good.
Yes.
The other thing is,
with all due respect to those brothers he's battling, though,
they're not me.
JC, they're not you, number one, and he could battle those cats at 70% and probably still pull a W out.
Yeah, so yeah, it's more so just about, and then also, like, I mean, if somebody doesn't show up, JC has a great way of selling some of his material. He writes indirect material as well. He doesn't always just write specific for his opponent. So he could definitely take, some of the stuff if one of those battles don't happen, and use them for me too. So
I hate to be this guy, but do you wish he didn't have those battles at all and just focus on you?
Man, that's a good question. Back in the days, yes. Now, all anybody cares about is, like, getting clear wins and, like, on to the next one. It's hard to appreciate or want to create those classic battles, because afterwards everybody's just talking about some other BS that's going on, and like, what, so it's tough. As a competitor, I always want my best opponent. But I mean, if we talking like Cody rankings and stuff right now, if I smoke, if I 30 coffee and turn around to 30 JC after having battles where I beat Swamp clearly, I feel like I beat Trufo and Slave Seva. Whether people want to say there were closer battles or whatever. I got a nice resume of putting together. I think that I'm up there.
Okay. Were you surprised that one of Coffee's rounds are kind of long? Which round was that? Was the first or the second round?
No, I wasn't surprised, because she told me the night before her rounds were long. I was trying to be transparent with her at my rounds. I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know my rounds are like 2 minutes and 45 seconds, because what I understood the round lengths was 2:30 with a 3-minute cap, and I was telling her, because I was like, if you want me to cut them to 2:30, I will, because I'm more than likely going to rebuttal. And she told me, she was like, I wrote 4-minute rounds. I was like, oh, and so she was like, yep. She was like, I wrote 4-minute rounds. She was like, but what her explanation for it was something I can empathize with.
All
She was
right.
like, I'm tired of people overwriting me. I'm tired of people writing longer rounds than me and me coming in there and, and she was like, I'm not about to let you do the same thing. I'm not an overwriter. You know what I mean? I don't. I told her, I was like, I didn't, I was like, if there's anything I wrote long rounds on, it was verb. And I didn't give a damn what he thought. That's just how I was with when I was approaching the A-Bird battle. I was like, I don't care about none of these time limits. You know what I mean? I'm going to write till I'm done writing. But yeah, so yeah, she did have longer rounds. But at the same time, 3, I didn't go home like, man, I need more. I went home like,
I was about to ask you that question.
no,
Going back to your room, were you
I
thinking
went
to
home
yourself,
like, I went home like, if she wrote 4-minute rounds, how I perceive her delivery and rapping ability, there's gonna be a lot of dry stuff in these rounds, you know? And I'm just like a lot of times people think they can entertain for 4 minutes, and it's not that easy. More is not always better. And it's
okay,
like, yo, if you took a minute out of each of those rounds of some of the filler, some of the stuff that didn't hit, some of the stuff that was like, are you really saying that I would rather be with a white man than a black woman and calling me gay and doing this weird angle that I'm just thinking like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? This is odd to me,
okay.
I'm like, yo, you could have trimmed some of this stuff down, and kept the stuff that really hit, and maybe it would have made it like a more airtight round.
But is it fulfilling for you guys when you know your opponent has longer rounds and you still win the battle? You still win the rounds with less material than your opponent?
I mean, personally, but ain't nobody online talking about, yo, Ward won and she rapped longer,
Right, 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 right,
And
right,
guess
right.
what? Nobody else says Ward lost, but his opponent rapped longer. Nobody cares about
Mhm.
that stuff. You know what I mean? Like they never do. You either won or you lost. And and that's kind of what it is. Unless you go out and make a actual statement like a Foots and Rum Nitty battle where you're just like, yo, like what was
Yeah,
going
that's
on
true.
here?
Yeah, yeah.
Do people really actually pay attention and care?
Okay, okay, okay.
But
And you,
I will keep to the time limits against JC. They will be 2.5-minute rounds. And we'll go from there.
JC ain't sticking to that though. You do know that, right? JC's not sticking
He
to
got a lot of battles, so if he wants to rap long, man, he can rap long. But listen, I'm a big proponent of I get paid to write this amount of material. There's no sense in me spending more hours, more time writing
that.
double or whatever, or even another extra 3-4 minutes, for the same price.
And you and JC's gonna be in Dayton, Ohio, right? Midwest.
Yep, they know how.
Okay, is that a good? That's a Midwest battle. I think that's a good. I mean,
Yeah, so
yeah.
their last event, they had a heavy local following there, which was cool.
Mhm.
This event, I'm hoping to see more of a battle rap following because look
All
at
right.
the card. Like when you got, people should be traveling for Ward and JC, Tay Rock and Quest, Rum
Yes.
Nitty and Enes, Chilla Jones and Av. Like there should be the last card, me, Bad News, Bonnie Official, and then like the local championship matchup and then another match, like so I'm hoping that, they can cultivate what they have in that local following because Geechi's battling the kid Fats that for the tournament. It was the road to Geechi, so it's the championship.
All
I'm
right.
hoping that local following still pops up to support Fats, but then you have the people from Cleveland, the people from Detroit, the people from
Mhm.
Chicago, everybody, Indianapolis, all pulling up for the card.
JC put a tweet out there, right? I kind of understand where he's going, but he kind of lost me a little bit. We said, Twerk, Geechi, B Down Low, so A Ward. That's my top 5. I get that part, my 5. But the up and coming new wave, I don't look at you as a new wave.
No, you didn't look at the date. He put that out 7 years ago, so it was 2018.
My
So
bad. So,
no,
okay,
yeah,
that's my
yep.
bad.
So he posted that. Loso retweeted it yesterday. I don't know if Loso just was like looking back for something and saw it from way back, but Loso retweeted it. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and
Right.
then JC like retweeted it again. Like, dang, I was spot on back in 2018 because he said, Twerk, Geechi, B.
Yeah.
Dot Ward, Loso, like those are the
Was.
5. And
Was.
I mean he was 5 for 5.
But when you see that now in 2025, and that's like, are you sitting there like, wow, like you just said, I guess coming fruition, right? I mean, everything look how it come
Yeah,
around,
definitely.
right?
And then I look at it like, dang, I'm in a position now to make a tweet and be like, yo, when I watch Eunice, when I watch Hansel, when I watch Capo, when I watch um uh like a Los Prime, a King.
Right.
You know, when I watch some of these guys, you know, I haven't seen enough of them yet to say they're going to be the next superstars, but I have seen enough of them to say like, wow, you guys are really good. You
Yeah.
know, like, you
Yeah.
know, if you take advantage of the opportunities you get and you make sure that you don't get burnt out and you know you show up, like these are guys that can really be the next wave of great battle rappers.
Do you ever felt you got burnt out in your career so far?
Do I what? I'm sorry.
Have you ever felt burnt out in your career?
I'm getting there. uh, yeah. So I would say burnt out, right? I still love performing. I love writing and all of that kind of stuff. I would just say the longer I'm in it, the less patience I have for the extra stuff, you know? And when I say the extra stuff, I'm just like the business sides of it, the continuing the catering to people that I'm just like, yo, like the I don't like politics, but yeah, the politics, the popularity contest, all that other
Right.
stuff, you know.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, you know, I work too hard. I work too freaking hard. I perform at a high level. I perform at such a high level that, you know, like like a performance like the coffee is standard. It's like, yeah, that's what we expect from A Ward. You know what I mean? When somebody else goes in, you know, and gives us a good performance, we're like super excited because it doesn't happen often for them, you know.
Mm.
And I get sick and tired of of leagues and fans and different people just like sticking to this whole popularity contest thing and not rewarding the people who are actually out here putting together content, being great. You know what I mean? So that's why I say when I get not burnt out of performing and writing, but I do get to the points where I'm just like, all right, man, y'all got it. You know what I mean?
Wow. Is it? I feel like you're in the Danny Myers syndrome. When I say that respectfully, I feel like Danny Myers gives a rat's ass about the culture. He loves battle rap, and I feel you're the same way. You love battle rap, like you love, like you said, performing, writing, and stuff like that. It's just the extra bullshit that behind the scenes and other stupid shit, like you said, and everything like that. You know what I mean? It'd be a shame to lose you, a person like you in battle rap, though, man. Someone that actually cares about their craft.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm. It's I'm like, man, I don't ever want to get to. I won't ever get to the point where I'm mailing it in. Like I
Oh
got too
no,
much pride to get on
100%.
stage and do that. You know,
Right,
I
right.
think I just battle less, and I'll just, you know, I'll pick certain people. You know, I want to battle. You know, um, but three, I might have to bounce, bro, because Real Deal's flying to hang out with me tonight, and he done
Okay.
called me 2 times, so I want to make sure his flight and everything's good, bro.
My guy. You know, we rock. I appreciate you as always, King. You know that, brother.
You already know. I'll tap in with
My
you, bro.
guy, man. My guy. Shout out my brother A Ward. Y'all know the vibes already, you heard?